Alright guys, so this is the Oukitel K10, probably the best battery monster made by Oukitel so far in terms of specs, because this is pretty interesting. This phone costs only 220 euros, yet it boasts a 6-inch 18:9 2160x1080 screen, a Helio P23 processor, 6 GB of LPDDR4X RAM, 64 GB of internal memory. Along with that you get a compass, gyroscope, a fingerprint scanner, Android 7.1.1, Band 20 LTE support, and a huge 11,000 milliamps battery. So let's check out the first impressions. So since this is a large battery phone, you can't expect a slim device, and yep, that thing definitely is thick and it is also heavy. But not as heavy as you might think, because it isn't entirely made from metal, which is a pro in this case, because all metal battery monsters get really heavy. But all in all, it still feels pretty nice in the hands actually, and the rear here is made from synthetic leather, which is quite interesting. The buttons are fairly large, have a nice clicky tactile feedback, don't rattle, feels like a really good build quality here, and as you can see there are some metal applications here on the side, left and right. So yeah, in general, not a bad phone in terms of build quality. It also looks pretty decent in my opinion. I like the design. The whole body is kind of rubberized a little bit, so that feels really smooth, and it also is really sturdy because it has a metal chassis inside that gives some additional strength to the body. Screen-wise, Oukitel phones are pretty much never a bad choice. This company really pretty much always uses pretty good screens, and the Oukitel K10 is no exception. Really sharp, you can't see single pixels, and the brightness is insane. Even under bright sunshine, there's really no issue reading the contents on the screen. The touchscreen is also really nice. It's a 5-point touch unit, I believe, but a very accurate one. Really no issues there. Viewing angles are really good too. The only thing that could be a little better is automatic brightness control. Often it looks like the lowest sensitivity setting is a little bit too bright indoors at day. which wastes a little bit of energy, but that's just a small flaw. In terms of performance, Oukitel pretty much always does a good job. They are pretty good optimizing their system to the MediaTek SoCs, and the Oukitel K10 is also no exception there. The whole phone runs very snappy on a daily basis. As you can see here when scrolling through the Facebook feed, everything works fairly smooth there, surprisingly smooth for a Helio P23 chipset. I mean, there are a lot of phones with this processor that stutter a lot there, but the K10 is really smooth. Also on other apps, when switching between apps, the 6GB of RAM do a great job during multitasking. The operating system is very close to stock Android, but I'm a little bit disappointed that it still comes with Android 7.1.1. I would have definitely preferred Android 8.0 Oreo on here, and also the security patch isn't up to date. As you can see, it's from December 2017. I would have preferred something from 2018 on here. Something the Oukitel K10 does very great is reception quality, and that not only in mobile networks and Wi-Fi, but also in GPS. Look at this, really good GPS reception quality, a lot of satellites there, and the accuracy is just top notch with 1.6 meters. And when actually using GPS for tracking and navigation, this phone is really accurate. There are no jumps whatsoever when doing tracking, and navigation is really accurate even when the phone is in a pocket or in a car not close to a window. So GPS works really well on here, and that also includes the compass sensor inside of there, which is also very accurate. So they did a great job there in terms of reception quality. One more thing I forgot to mention is that the Oukitel K10 packs support for NFC, which is something very rare on Chinese phones these days. So it's nice to see that it packs support for NFC, sadly not wireless charging, but that probably would take way too long to fully charge the battery by wireless charging. What's a little bit disappointing is the internal media speaker. This sounds very flat and does distort at the highest volume, which is very sad since there is a lot of room they could have made use of for a proper audio output there. And what's also kind of sad is that we don't have a 3.5mm headphone jack, so we need to use an adapter that comes with it. And the Type-C port here is a port that needs plugs with an extra length, so it's not the standard Type-C length. So not all adapters will fit there. So you need to keep that in mind. So if you break the adapter that comes with the Oukitel K10, you might have issues finding an adapter that fits in this port. Something I don't understand about Chinese phone makers these days is why they all stick with those fake dual cameras. Meanwhile, they should have figured out that those fake dual cameras don't bring them any benefits. I mean, just look at this result. It looks just outright ugly. And with pretty much any phone that uses such a fake dual camera, you get a pretty much crappy camera performance in general, because they just don't focus on optimizing their single camera performance, and that's just the case here as well. The pictures aren't unusable at daylight, but they definitely lack a lot of sharpness and detail. They always look a little bit blurry and noisy. So this for sure isn't a great camera on there, which is very disappointing, and probably the biggest flaw the Oukitel K10 has. You pretty much never get perfect pictures, which is just really sad. Also, the front camera isn't the best out there. So yeah, I would have wished they would have put in a proper single camera there and focus on that instead of this crappy fake dual camera. And also, by the way, the front camera also is a dual camera, but fake as well. It's not generating a true bokeh effect. But what about battery life? Well, 11,000 milliamps are insane, but if we remember back the Doogee BL12000, this one was even more insane, but in fact it only packed a 10,000 milliamps battery. And I already did an external measurement of the capacity, and I got around 9,000 milliamps, which is of course significantly less than the advertised 11,000 milliamps. So I suspect that the Oukitel K10 in fact also has just a 10,000 milliamps battery. So Oukitel already did a 10,000 milliamps battery phone. In fact, there were multiple phones made by them with such a large battery. So yeah, it's kind of sad that most likely they haven't gone for a real 11,000 milliamps battery inside of there. But what about the battery life? Well, this one still is awesome and much better actually than the Oukitel K10,000. Just look at that, screen on time 24 hours 31 minutes, screen off 181 hours 45 minutes, combined use 51 hours 22 minutes. So I actually used this phone very heavy, very intense, pretty much screen on for half the day or so, and did a lot of navigation tests and all that stuff, and still one single charge lasted me for a full 3 days with some charge left for a fourth day. So that's quite an insane battery life, and actually it is much better than on Oukitel K10,000. So even if it doesn't have 11,000 milliamps, which I am not sure because those external measurements aren't always accurate and I haven't managed to pull the battery out, it's glued inside of there. But even if it only has a 10,000 milliamps battery, the battery life is extremely good. And also the charging time should be pretty short. It's charging with 5 amperes, which is a lot. Haven't tested fast charging yet because it takes ages to discharge the battery, and of course for the external measurement I had to charge it with a slower charger. So I will have to test the 5 amps charger that comes with this phone, but I think it should be fully charged in like 2 hours or so, which would be great, but we will see about that. So yeah, I think that's all you need to know for now about Oukitel K10. I will keep testing this phone and then come up with a full review, so stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching, see you then, bye bye.